So folks, good news today. I'm home from overseas working and I'm heading down to the airfield now. What to do? To fit my cylinder head, the one that was broken. So it's in the back of the van and we're away to head down and hopefully get this thing put back together again today. Whether I get it running, we'll see how time prevails. And we'll talk to you once we get down there. We'll away and head down to the airfield now to get this cylinder head installed. Bye! So folks, here we are. We've just arrived in the hangar. Ignore my fancy tablecloth, but it's all I have just to keep the parts clean. Never mind. This covers off of the aircraft. So folks, what we've got here is all the parts. I'll let you see here. So that's a rocker cover, plus the bolts to fit it, and the blank plugs for fitting the inside the cylinder head studs, which are there. It's a cylinder head studs. This is the what they call a sandwich plate for the oil cooler. New set of seals. This are the pipes that carry the push rods up and down. They'll need a clean up. We'll get onto that just now. This is the push rods. Just make sure that they're straight. Roll them along the table. Make sure there's no bends. In fact, that one's bent, but I've got a new one. Not a problem. Cylinder head, valves is seated in, springs is in place, collets are in place. Turn it upside down, you can see beautiful, clean and ready for use, or ready for fitting, should we say. This holes here are where the actual push rods come up through. See if I can get a better look. That one's there. The end of these tubes come up inside there and the push rod sits inside. Push up and down the valves. This is your rockers. They are seated, and so we've got the covers off here now, so we'll just open up the bits that's covered up. So the piston is covered up. Look at that beautiful glaze etching inside here. New piston, everything's in here and set up. We'll remove the cloths and other bits and pieces. That's the inlet manifold pipe here. Just like if you can see it down in here, that's an inlet manifold pipe. So what we've got hanging here is this a temperature sensor for the spark plugs. This one here, and the one here is for the oil pressure and oil temperature. That's a 2. It's there. So we'll just tuck him away in the back here, out of the way, so we don't need them. Obviously the spark plug leads are here, so we'll remove the spark plug leads and tuck him up in the back, out of the way as well. So we've got all the room to work. So that's us ready now to have a look at putting this barrel back in place and cylinder head back in place. Oil field pipe is to be joined together. It feeds the oil up into the rocker cover, up into the rockers. So all that's to be put back together again. So we'll get going and we'll go and put our back together. Push rod goes into the end and they sit in here and put up and down the valves, one on either side. So what we'll do is we'll get cracking, get it built back together. I just want to check also the hydraulic lifters, which that holes that you see in the back here, that's the tops of hydraulic lifters. So I'm just going to take him out and give him a clean up and see how they are. Piston barrel is looking fantastic. Everything's been torqued up there. So we're more or less ready just to get going and build this thing back together again. So I'll give you an update. I'll give you an update in the progress once we get this built. I started to get it ready for assembly. Okay, bye. One thing that I never mentioned, all these Javaroo engines are unfortunately built with this 515 Loctite, and it's an absolute fortune to buy. It's about 45 quid a tube. Okay, you don't need a lot of it, but it's still very, very expensive. So as I say, we're ready here, we'll get going and we'll start cleaning up as oil pipes for push rods. We'll clean them up, get all the crap off them, and the sealer, which is at 515, get that all cleaned up and get them ready to be reinstalled. Okay, so folks, what I've done here is I've cleaned up all the oil pipe tubes. They're all cleaned up the connections that go into this side. I've pulled out the O-rings. They're all cleaned up and looking good, ready for putting back in. I've also removed the hydraulic lifters just for inspection to make sure that there's still pressure in them. So there's pressure on both of that hydraulic lifters. They're just easy enough to take them out. You just pull them out of the holes. That's where they sit in. They go right down there and sit in the camshaft. And what happens is you just take a magnet, stick it on the end, and they should just pull out a magnet, which these ones come out no problem at all. So I've cleaned them up. We're ready basically to stick everything back together again now. Everything's clean and tidy, so it's just a case of I'll check as push rods just to make sure there's none of them bent. I have got new ones just in case. And that's my seal kit, so I'll get all the seals back in, new seals and the whole lot. And hopefully we'll get this thing rebuilt in the next hour or so. We'll head back together again. So, as I say, I can't see anything else untoward there. Everything's okay. There's no oil in the engine at the moment. I've drained oil. Obviously I'm working at the lifters, I'm working at bits and pieces. The oil's drained, so we'll get it filled up, we'll get the filter changed, and we'll get the thing back together and going as soon as possible. Okay, just a quick update. So folks, what I've done here, I've just put an exhaust manifold on the inlet manifold in place. As you can see, I've just connected them here and there's exhaust paste around the bottom. So that's exhaust manifold on the inlet manifold. This is the inlet, this is where the fuel comes into the cylinder, and that's where it exhausts out. So it's an inlet manifold and an exit manifold, exhaust manifold. So I'll just put them back in place. So we'll get them, they're all tightened up, ready to go, and we'll get a head stuck on now. Hey ho! What we've got here is, this is the oil tubes that the push rods run up in. So I've put new seals down in the inside, and I've also put them in with the 515 Loctite. So both of them are cleaned up and ready with new seals inside them. There's new seals in the actual hole in there. Just send the light on it. In the holes in there, at two holes that's in front of you, there's two new seals in there, and I'm just about to put back in the hydraulic lifters. So what we'll do is, and again the camera can still see it now, but this is one of the hydraulic lifters, and I'm just going to put it back in its hole, push it in, all the way in, until it touches the actual camshaft. So it's one hydraulic lifter in, and this is the second one. Hydraulic lifter, they've been checked, they've been looked at. So the second one's going back in the hole, so just push it in and just lay it right in until it touches the camshaft. That's it in there. So there's new O-ring seals in there, oil pipes back in, and then we'll get them fed back in through the cylinder head before we put it on. You can see us here, I've just put two new seals in there. They're in and seated and look okay, and they go on the top of that push rod, or oil pipes they call them, the ones underneath here. But they slide up inside there, and then there's circlips holds them in place. So we'll just go ahead and get us oil pipes in, and hey ho, on we go. Pipes in place and sealed. A sealer on there. So that's the 2 pipes there. They're in place. So now we'll just go ahead and put on that cylinder head. So what we've got is, we've got a cylinder head on. It's not bolted up all the way yet. I've got a T-piece pipe on. It was actually really difficult to get that on and get a cylinder head on. The tubular clips is slack. Just ready to be tightened up. There's under in there. That's the oil feed pipe for a rockers inside here. 2 circlips is in here. One either side. It's at the top of the oil pipes, the oil tubes for the push rods. They are connected. Just gotta get a light up in here. They are connected up in here and sealed. So it's just a case of bolt on the cylinder head, torque it up, just double checking that the O-rings it's in here and the actual seals. I have put a bit of sealer in here as well, but all looking good so far. There is a stud away down deep in here which I'll have to tighten as well, but so far so good. So what we've got here is, here are the actual rockers that push up and down the valves. So they fit in here, sit on the top of the push rod. The push rods are in place and there's a pin that stays here. This is the pin with the groove in it, and head gets pushed. There's a hole in the end of the cylinder and head gets pushed all the way in. So I need to turn the propeller over to get this push rods sit back. So I've got this in turned round and back. So this in here is actually sit back. So it's just a case I lift this into place and push in the pin all the way in till it connects to there, and then I'll stop it here, stop it at the other side, and I'll turn the engine round till this push rod is sitting back in, and then what I'll do is I'll push the pin all the way through. So folks, an update. What we've had today is mark a little jig here. I'll just let you see it. So I've obviously made up this metal plate across the top so I can push the valves down a little bit. So I was able to put a pin through to hold the rockers. So it's just a wee bit of jiggery pokery, as you would say, but that's it done, and the plate's in place. So I'm just going to wait to remove that plate now that I've got on here, and hopefully we can get a screw in the centre to hold the shaft moving backwards and forwards. Hey ho, what I've got is the pin's in the centre, the lock bolt is in to stop the shaft coming out to save this rocker moving. So if I just remove this spark plugs, only hand tight, take one out each cylinder, and we'll turn the engine over to make sure that these valves are going up and down as they should. So I'll just remove one from each cylinder. They're only hand tight in. They're really just in place there to stop any rubbish going down into the cylinder. So if I remove them, it'll give me no compression to turn over the engine. So we'll turn over the engine and see that these valves are moving. If they don't, oh, we've got one away, one moving, in and out, both moving in and out as they should. I'm looking at torquing this cylinder head and going to Jabiru manual. It's 24 foot-pounds, so I've just set my torque wrench to 24 foot-pounds, and I'm going to wait to start torquing the heads. So we'll crack on and get going and get us heads dirt. Hello again folks, so what we're here today, we're back at the airfield, back in the hangar. So I was waiting for the rain to go off, which seems to have done at the moment. It's better kind of looking blue skies. What's the plan today? Well, obviously we put that cylinder head back on. I didn't have engine oil, but I've got that now, so I'm going to wait to change engine oil. I'm going to wait to increase the oil pressure, because the reason I'm doing that is these Jabiru engines, if you run them with or without an oil cooler, it does affect the oil pressure. So I'm going to increase the oil pressure ever so slightly by putting in another shim, as they would say, and hopefully if I have time and it's not too dark, I want to run this engine today. So first of all, we're going to do, we're going to pull this 6 out of the back corner there, where she's nicely in bed. We'll get the covers off, we'll pull her forward into the middle of the floor, and we'll get going. So once I get that done, we'll update you on the progress. Cheers! So I've got the oil filter slackened. It was tight, slightly more than hand tight, but it doesn't matter. So we'll just get it to go off the oil filter now, unscrew it. There's a little bit of oil inside it. There you go. In fact, there's no oil inside it. I did drain it completely. Doesn't matter. But what we've got here is there's a small circlip in here, as you can see. Remove that, remove the oil pressure switch, which that is in here, and see what we've got in behind it. But next job, we'll remove that oil pressure switch. Hi folks, so what I'm doing here, I've put in a couple of shims. So as you can see, I'm just easing it in the hole there, all the way in, and I'll hold it there with there. It's difficult to do with 2 hands. Then just what I do is just put in a screwdriver, touch it in, and pull back my magnet, and there you go. I can quite clearly see in the hole here that shim is in place. So now we'll just put back in, first of all, there's a spring, pressure spring, that goes in the hole, and then next on top of that is the pressure relief valve, which sits in here. That gets pushed in. I'm going to need both hands, so I can't film this at the moment. So I'll circlips in place, O-rings in place, so that's the pressure relief valve back in and seated. Hi folks, so what I'm doing here, I've just filled up oil filter. As you can see, you'll see it's shining here with 15W50, and I've also put oil round about the oil filter seal, so I'm just ready to put it back in place. You end up spilling a wee bit because it's lying on its side, but here we go, we'll get this oil filter back into place. Hopefully you can see that there, what I'm doing. So we got away with that very nicely. We didn't spill anything at all. As you can see, everything's clean. Oil filter's back in place and hand tight. I'll give it a little bit extra tightening because these Jabiru engines are like just a a wee nip up. So at the moment I'm just putting in oil. The first one is in, the second one's going to wait to go in as well. So as I say, I'm just pouring in some oil slowly into it. In we go. I'm just letting the oil drain in here, out of the bottle. There's one more to go. So I say, filters in place, cylinder heads in place, plugs are all in and tight. So what we'll do is, we'll move the Europa here, and I'll move my van and we'll pull this thing out into the middle of the floor, and then hopefully take it outside. Beautiful day just now to be able to test fly it out there. Not to test fly it, but to test run it out there. So here's hoping we get on, get this oil in and get it filled up. So folks, we're back in the hangar again today. Unfortunately yesterday I didn't get a chance to, well, I managed to start the engine, that's all I did, just to check if RPM was working. I was getting oil pressure and things like that. So update for today is, I've got the bottom engine cowl back on, and I've got the shrouds or the air vents for the cylinder heads back on. These are very, very important on a Jabiru engine because it's an air-cooled engine, like an old Volkswagen Beetle Boxster engine, similar type of thing. And they rely on just air, outside air, to cool the cylinders. So the air's forced inside air, and it's forced round the cylinders to cool the actual cylinders. So for running up, it's always better to put these back on the Jabiru engine, and the reason being is it gives it more even cooling across the cylinders. Everything's back in place. I'm just going to pull through this. I've got the inside now to sort out. So what I'm doing is I'm just pulling this. This is a little RPM sensor that I've wrapped around one of the actual coil leads, and it gives a signal. It's just an input signal, and it picks up the pulses of the coil. So what I'm doing is I've just run it back inside. This is the wire here hanging inside, and this is the gauge. So I've got it set up, and I'm going to wait, install it and put back on the top panel so you can't see all this electrical wires and things like that inside. So I'm just going to wait to tidy the whole aircraft up, ready for testing. So that's how she's looking now with the cowl back on. I've still a top cowl to put on obviously, but that's how she's looking now. So I'll give you a quick update once I get this panel back on inside. So folks, as you can hear, it's an absolute howling gale of wind and a storm outside. I'm scared to open that hangar doors, but the water as you can see is coming under the doors. What have I been doing? Well, I've made up this little bracket. I've just given it an undercoat paint just now, but I've made up this little bracket to fit onto, so this thing fits inside it. Sorry about that, I dropped you. So this thing fits inside. I'm going to wait to paint it black, and I'm going to wait to install it up in the corner of the dash here. Now folks, just an update. It's absolutely blowing a gale outside here just now, but never mind. What I've done, I've put on a panel on the top. It's on and secured. I made up a little plate, and this is the RPM gauge. You can see 0.2 on it, or you might see 0.2 on it just now. It shows you it's 0.2 an hour that the thing's run. It's just temporary, but it's on air just now. Compass is back in place. Your balance ball is back in place, and as I said, it's very, very basic instruments inside this thing. Oh, that's not good, that's left on. I wonder if I've got power in my battery. Oh, I have. Red light's on, that's fine. So, what we've got on board here, RPM, airspeed, balance ball, compass, altimeter, vertical speed indicator, in other words up and down. We've got a radio, which is 833. We've got a registration here. We've got a transponder, which is a mode Charlie. It's on standby at the moment. Well, it's actually off at the moment. We've got a master. We've got carb heat. Pull it out. Hear a click. That puts heat from the exhaust through the carburetor. We've got two switches here, which are a auxiliary carb heat, which are electric. We've got a 12 volt supply to power iPads and things like that. And we've got cabin heat. In other words, it's got a heater. Because we live in Scotland, you need a heater. So cabin heat is on and off. This is the throttle, and directly below the throttle is the choke. The mount here is for an iPad. I fly with an iPad all the time, as you've probably seen in my last videos. We've got a small, what they call push to talk PTT switch. That is for this left hand seat. So if you want to talk on the radio to air traffic control or ground or whatever, you press that and it gives you communication through your headset. We've got a rev counter, RPM. We've got the engine gauges are the next ones, which is the bottom is cylinder head temperature, the top is oil pressure. We've got battery volts across the other side, and we've got engine oil temperature, which is the top one here. And the switch over on the far side lights up the instruments. So that's her back together again, and I'm really, really happy. So this is a stick, elevator, up and down, ailerons, side to side. And below that, what we've got here is a trim wheel, the trim for hands-off flight, and we've got flaps. 1, 2, 3 stages of flap. Three. So, I'm happy if you guys are all happy.